I've been searching for a side hustle for a while now, and I think I finally found it. And after sitting down and adding up the numbers, I could make close to 6 figures, easily. Hey everyone, welcome to Salt Life Builds. My name is Drew, and I started this YouTube channel to document my journey as a beginning woodworker. Now, most of my builds are really simple things that I end up keeping for myself or giving to my wife. But this last build was a little different. It has now started something that has the potential to be really, really big. But like most things in life, it also has that same potential to fail. And that something is selling my beginner level projects. And because of how successful it was, I wanted to start a YouTube series on not only how I build it, but also the numbers behind the sale. And so the first half of this video is gonna walk you through the build, and the second half of this video is where I'm gonna break down the numbers. If you only care about the numbers, I completely understand, and I left timestamps below for you to jump to. However, if you wanna see just how easy this build was to make, stay right where you are, we're gonna hop into the build. For this build, I'm gonna be making a console table. I only used 2x10s for the entire build. Specifically, 3 6-foot boards and 1 4-foot board. I wanted the width of the table to be 18 inches wide, so I had to strip all of the boards to 9 inches. After they were stripped to 9 inches, I had to cut them to lengths that I needed. I cut 2 boards to 50 inches, I cut 2 boards to 38 inches, and I cut 4 of them to 15.5 inches. I used my carpenter square to get them as close to 90 degrees as possible. Once they were all cut to length, I lined up the matching pairs and drew lines where I wanted to add dowels. Then at each line, I found the middle using my square. If your square isn't perfectly centered, just flip it over and the middle of those 2 lines will be the center. This, along with the next step of drilling the holes for the dowels, took the most amount of time, but it's worth it. Add glue to each hole, pound in all of the wooden dowels, add more wood glue, and then pound those 2 pieces together. Add clamps to hold them tight and let the glue dry. Now, depending on how well your dowels were centered, you may not have a lot of planing to do. But if you have a small ridge like I did, just take a hand planer and smooth it out. Once it's smoothed out, you can begin sanding. I started with 80 grit sandpaper, then moved to 220, and then finished with 400. I wanted to go with a more rustic look, so I took an axe and a hammer to each piece. You don't want to put too many dents into it, just enough where you can get that distressed look. Shout out to my lovely wife for helping me with this step. She was a great sport and was happy to do it. Now it's time to assemble the table. I first took the boards that were 15.5 inches and used those as the leg. I then screwed in the 8 L brackets an inch from the bottom. I then set up the legs and placed the 38-inch piece on top of the L brackets. The final 50-inch piece goes on top. So after taking some time to center it, I went ahead and added screws to secure it to the legs. After everything is secured, you can go ahead and add stain. The color you choose is completely up to you. I just went with a lighter tone. And then wait for it to dry, and it's done. Now, what I made on this really simplistic build got me so excited that I ended up posting another one of my builds online. which made about 5 times the amount this one did. And I'll be uploading a video on that build next week. So if you want to see those numbers, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Now I'm going to be breaking up these numbers into 4 categories: the cost of all the materials, the amount of time it took to build, the price it sold for, and finally, the profit. The only materials I had to purchase was the lumber and 8 L brackets. I did use leftover screws and some leftover stain, but I'm not going to add those into the cost. The L brackets were 33 cents each, and the total lumber cost was $44.99. So my total came to $47.63. Now, as we all know, time is valuable. So I am including every single minute that I worked on the build. So that includes driving, building, assembling, and even selling. Now, I'm not including the time where the glue was drying or the stain was drying, because I was able to do things in that time. I live about 7 minutes away from my nearest home improvement store, and I spent close to about 30 minutes getting the materials. Add about an hour or so on top of that for the build time, and my total amount of time spent on this build was 2 hours and 15 minutes. For me, selling it was a piece of cake. And I know it won't always work out like that every time. But what I did was I took a really nice picture of it and posted it on Facebook Marketplace. And it sold within 3 hours of posting. Now again, I know this could take days, I know this could take weeks, but for this build, it was really easy. And so the total came out to $275. And you're probably wondering, how did they get it? Well, the nice lady and I met up at the home improvement store and gave it to her there. So if you're doing the math at home, my total profit was $227.37, which means to me, in my opinion, my hourly rate was $101 an hour. And like I said before, I was so excited when I saw that number that I went back online and sold another one of my projects at an even higher price. So if you want to see that video, I'm going to post it next week, and I'd love for you to join me to see just how far I can get this side hustle to go. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.